All right, folks. Let's do a little space on finding our way. Really great topic. We're going to have a great, incredibly productive talk. And what I really want is to get your attention and redivert your focus towards a particular truth, right? Um, some might get it in the very first minutes. Um, Others might not get it at all, or they might get it at the end of the monologue, so to speak. But um, yeah, I get asked this question a lot, right? And one would think it's expected of a person who's searching, right, to have a question of this nature, um, to sort of like gain the question. And the question is, why can't I find my path? Why can't I find my way in life when, let's say, all around me I'm watching people succeed, right? And through success, they mean in a more eccentric manner, I guess. Why can't I get what I want, right? And now we're going to today explore the ideology, um, and sort of like a philosophy behind that sentiment, which isn't true. You not getting whatever you want, absolute bollocks, right? So even the assumption that you're not getting what you want is where you've gone terribly, terribly wrong. And I'm not just doing demagoguery here. I'm trying to explain to you why that is. Usually, when we have a seeker and they want to create an illusion or a sort of like outwards expression of fulfillment and contentness and success, what they will do is they will play appearances, right? So you'll play, but this is what most of us do or did when you started out in sort of like the whole success slash spirituality space or whatever. The very first thing that you did, and I and everyone else involved, regardless of their current level of advancement, what they did was they created this outwards image. They projected this outwards image that I have it all figured out, and da, da, da. Most of them are still there. So most people can't go beyond the sort of like the egotistic idea of I have it all figured out. So if you've gone over that, I congratulate you. You've done more than most people will in their spiritual journeys. And that is definitely an admirable quality to have. But back to the question, why can't I find my path? What is the path? What is the way? Right? And many people um, within the esoteric fields, they would have you believe that it's this incredible state of flow that is somehow achievable through mystical means. And once you achieve it, you will immediately know and you will be able to manifest things from nothing and blah, 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 blah. Those same people who preach these things, right? They usually have problems of their own, right? They're just really good at hiding it. So they don't really know, right? What I'm trying to explain to you is this: the sentiment that you're not getting everything you want is false. In fact, what would you do if I told you that you have exactly everything you want? In fact, what if I told you that right now, this very moment, you only have the things that you truly, really want? What emotion would that what emotion would arise after hearing those words, right? Outside of thinking that I'm full of shit. But I promise you by the end of this conversation, you will have been the one who's been full of shit. And I'm going to prove that to you. Or at least I'm going to try to, because I want to give you something. At the end of this monologue, I want to give you a little gem of information that you can transmute and use for yourself. But humor me for a moment, okay? So humor me, and let's pretend that in actuality, we live in a world where all people have at at any and all times exactly what they want. What would that teach us about human nature? So it's not that the question is not that why can't I find my path? The question is why don't I want to find the path? Because if I truly wanted to find the path, I would. Because what if I told you that the mystic knows the secret, the magician does not? The mystic understands that innately what a want or innate desire of a human being, of a human mind is it becoming manifest, right? It becoming manifested in the material realm. So the mystic laughs at your wants and needs when you talk to him about how much you want to improve that and how much you want to improve this and how much you want to impress this girl and how much you want to be working harder and taking better care of your family, because he understands that what you have come to him with your baggage or blessings or whatever, is weighs exactly that which what you truly want would. You understand what I'm taking this conversation? So the question is not why can't I find my way? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? Why can no. You've got it all wrong, my friend. The mystic would tell you, right? The mystic would tell you you have it all wrong. You shouldn't be asking that question. It's not the right question. The mystic would tell you the correct question, in fact, is why don't you want to find your way? The correct question is, he would tell you, what lives within you that does not enable you to truly want to find your way? Or what lives within you that is a sort of a voice within you that is calling to you and it's saying you don't really want to, right? You don't really want it. If you wanted the proof of the existence of God, if you truly wanted it, and I can tell you this with absolute surety because I know if you really wanted it, you would have already learned it. But the problem with wanting and knowing is that you innately understand that with that knowing and with that wanting and with that receiving the thing that you think you want come a lot of implications. And these are heavy implications. Understanding the proof of God, shouldn't that be an incredible thing? But no, it's not. Because it comes with the implication of ultimate and utmost and utter responsibility and conscientiousness, right? It's a scary ordeal. It's a very scary ordeal. Do you want to work hard every day and become a millionaire? No, you don't. Now, you think you do, but you don't. If you really did, you would already have it. So it's not that we live or not live in a world that doesn't appeal to your desires and needs. Oh, it absolutely appeals to your desires and needs and wants immediately. Like I said, the mystic knows this. He's the keeper of this secret. The problem is not in the mechanism through which you are provided everything you've ever wanted. The mechanism is here, is present at all times. The problem is the mechanism within the mechanism. And what's that? That's you. It's the trigger point, it's the lever, it's the activation center through which the mechanism can do its work. But there's something holding it back. There's a secret button somewhere. It's holding it back from actually turning the wheels and getting stuff done, getting things ready, right? And now, if you can humor me just for 5 more minutes with this truth, right? Because this is what this monologue is. It is hypothetically you humoring me in in achieving this sort of fantastical realm where all of your true wants and desires are constantly handed to you, just like that, with no effort whatsoever, right? We can speak about manifestation, how manifestation would work in this sort of realm, right? In this sort of fantastical, magical, woo woo la la land that we're talking about that is so far from reality that you cannot possibly exist, right? But again, within the confines of you humoring me on a hypothetical stage, how would the act of manifestation manifest itself in such a realm? Well, if, in my opinion, my humble opinion, how it would go, I would argue, is that it would have to be something that's intrinsically effortless, right? It would have to be something that is so natural to the human state that it's not even something that's thought about really, right? It would be something that's so easily and readily available to all, right? And now, since you've humored me this far, maybe you can continue humoring me bit by bit and assume that this is also true, right? Now, we've had one foot through the door this whole time, so might as well just go all in and you know, into this comical, degenerate world that we've constructed in our minds, right? Now, within this world, I would argue that the primary thing holding you back from everything you've ever wanted is you. The primary thing holding you back from achieving whatever you want to achieve is your deficit or lack of true desire. You don't really want to. That you want to convince others that you want to, but you don't actually want to. Like, I convince others that I really want to be a millionaire, but do I really want to go through what I know I will have to go through to achieve that state of acquiring, like having acquired large sums of money? Well, if I don't have it right now, then that can only tell me one thing: I don't really want to. And whatever I do have right now, it tells me I want to have all these things. And that's a scary thought too, right? What do you mean? I want to have those things. So right now, if I have a virus or sort of illness or sickness, do I want to have? Do I want to be having that? Well, one way or another, I do. So the quest, the way, the path is right there. It's right there for you in the things that you have right now. All you have to do is question them. Well, okay, if I have this thing in my life and I can objectively surmise that this thing is not good for my health and well being, it causes me stress. But at the same time, I know the mystical truth that if I have it, then somehow a part of me wants it, wants to have it. Then I can go and probably explore, well, which part of me wants to have it? What side of me desires to have this experience of sickness or poverty or whatever, whatever. And now you're approaching some sort of truth. Now you're approaching the idea that maybe perhaps we've all been bullshitting each other and ourselves for a very long time now. Which is true. I can guarantee you that. A lot of people don't like hearing this, and for good reason, right? They run away when they hear this. They don't want to be in this space. They don't want to vibrate, right? In this room of truth, in this hall of mirrors, right? They don't want to be there. You might also get that feeling or emotion. It's like, well, what do you mean? That's BS. Because we naturally want to externalize our problems, right? Want to like push it all out into the outside world. And when we can't, um, we rage against that same world, right? So the next time you ask, well, why can't I find my way? Why can't I find my path? I'm not going to laugh at you in any sort of cynical manner, but what I am going to tell you is this: if you really wanted to find your way, you already would have. If you really wanted to meet God, you already would have. If you really wanted to stop being confused, you would have already. If you wanted to be a better person, you would already be a better person. So when someone doesn't have something, right? Deep down, it's because they don't want to have it. Their higher selves don't want them to have it either. And then some people will ask the questions. Well, how can that be? Well, because you understand that the things that come, the weights that come with having things and having acquired things, they also come with trials and tribulations and temptations. Those are the things you don't want. So you want the million without the grind. You want the money without the hustle. You want the strength without the trials and tribulations. Now that is real fantasy land. That's real la la land, right? You can't muse yourself into strength. You can't motivate or inspire yourself into a better state of mind. All of these things have to be achieved. When you understand that that is so, life becomes easier. When you understand that being responsible for the things that are happening in your life, that is the primary metric through which a consciousness can be, how to say, judged or valued in a sort of way, right? Then you start thinking about these things in a different manner. So, okay, let's talk about the way. Well, what is the way? Well, my way, my way. Like, what is the way? So, you don't even know what it is, yet you pine for it, right? Maybe your way is not a good way. Maybe your way is a disastrous, tormentful, sorrowful, grief-stricken, uh, you know, a roller coaster of emotions. You don't know. I'll tell you what your way is. Your way is whatever you can be happy with. That's your way. When you finally understand that the acceptance of your destiny, the acceptance of your way, the acceptance of whatever comes and whatever happens to you, when you understand that the moment you can be happy with whatever happens, that's when you will find your way. There's no other way around it. There's no shortcuts, there's no crossroads, nothing. Nada. The only way is to come to terms with your destiny and through acceptance of whatever that destiny is, go forward. We talk about the four sacred directors of life. We talk about the sacred compass that is given to every man, woman, and child who lives in this world. So let's talk about it again. North, south, east, west. Ambition, desire, intuition, and conscience. Those are the four guides that have been ordained to you. So we say, well, why can't I find my way? And I tell you, here's your compass. There's your compass right there on the table. You must pay homage to your desires, right? You must follow your ambitions. But as you follow your desires and your ambitions, you must heed the voice of intuition and you must heed the voice of conscience. Two of these forces are active forces, and the other two are reactive forces. What activates conscience? Desire. When you go for something you desire, deep down innately you know that if I want to achieve this thing that I desire, I might be damaging someone else because of it. I might be taking from someone else because of it. That's when your conscience, your voice of conscience, will activate. Always listen to that voice because it's telling you I might be overstepping. When your intuition activates as you follow your ambitions, and your ambitiousness is an active element, it's an active charge. You're going headfirst into whatever you think you deserve to have. But your intuition tells you don't do this, do that. Always listen to the voice of intuition. So, who are the people with the best intuition? It's the people who practice in reality, in the physical realm, the playing out of their ambitions. Who are the people who are the most morally tempted and the most morally strict and disciplined? The people who play out their desires, their deepest, darkest desires, in the world without breaking their conscience. So you have these four directors in life. You know exactly where you're going, you know exactly what your way is. Can you follow that path? You have your desires and you have your ambitions. Those are not bad things. There are many death worshippers in this world, and they worship the idea of dying, the idea of killing your desires and your ambitions. When your desires and your ambitions are exactly the compass which guide you to spiritual advancement, true spiritual advancement, not passivity. Passivity is easy. When you don't pay homage to who you are and what your ambitions are, you fall into passivity and nothing really happens. All you can do is accept, react to the things that happen around you. So, yes, men are enslaved by their desire and ambitions for good reason. Because if you're not enslaved, then how can you teach yourself to become unbound, to unchain yourself from your lesser mind? To acquire this understanding, you already know what the way is, you know where you need to go, what you need to do, how you need to go about it, what you need to listen to, what you don't need to listen to. When you activate desire and ambition in your life, the voices of conscience and the voices of intuition will always activate, and they will keep activating more and more and more frequently. One is the feminine side, the reactive charge, and one is the masculine side, the active charge. But what happens when these two forces interweave? What happens when the feminine and the masculine, they crisscross, they cross one another? What happens? If one line is the feminine and the other line in the cross is the masculine charge, what happens in the middle, my friends? That's a whole new different energy. That's the energy of union. That is the portal. That is the portal through which the emanation of the cross can occur. So, yes, you are looking for a sort of middle ground, but you are looking for a middle ground that is expansive, not a middle ground that is sitting in there in passivity. Understand? You want to shine like the sun. You want to be reaching out your two of your arms and hands and two of your legs as far as they can go. You want to touch the things you want to touch. You want to feel the things you want to feel. You want to walk to the places you want to walk. Or you can sit in a lotus position, everything pulled in short, compact, and pretend you're a pretty flower. But I'll tell you a little secret. You haven't come to this world to pretend like you're a little flower. You've come to this world to be ripped apart, to be ripped open by the desires that live within you. You have come to this world to have your heart broken apart. No one walks away from this world without getting their heart broken. No one, not a single soul. It is unequivocally true. Not a single human being has lived in this world who hasn't had their heart ripped out of their chest, some even literally. Then, well, you can ask me, well, so what are you asking me, Uncle Jack? What are you expecting me to do? You're telling me to be fine with having my heart ripped out of my chest? Yeah, I am. I am asking you that. I'm telling you, come to terms with it. I'm telling you, accept it. I'm telling you, find happiness regardless. And stop talking to me in terms of how much you want to be better, or how much you want to stop drinking, and how much you want to lose weight, but you just need, if you really wanted it, it would be done. And ask yourself, what's keeping me from truly wanting it? Why don't I want it? You don't actually want it. You want to want it. You don't really desire it. You desire to desire it. That's the difference. That's the difference maker. So all this talk about how to manifest the perfect life and just visualize it, go away. Plant your head in the snow. Shove a mouthful of snow down your throat and then swallow it and piss it out because that's what you're doing with your energy, with your life. If you want an example of what you're doing, is you're eating snow and then you're pissing it back out. And then you're trying to convince yourself that you're somehow making progress, right? The real question is, why don't I really want it? If I want to be smarter, why don't I really want to be smarter? If I want to be a better parent or brother or sister or family member or this and that, a classmate, whatever, why don't I really want it? Because if I really wanted it, I would already be those things. I don't want it, you know? Sometimes you have to come to terms with that too. And it's okay to admit that to yourself. You don't want to be the top earner, um, whatever, the top businessman. You have to come to terms with that too. You can't keep convincing yourself for the sake of others. Oh, it's what I want. Like, well, you know, Uncle Jack, do you want to have $10 million? Well, I don't even have to answer that question. Do I have $10 million? No, I don't. So it means I don't want to have $10 million. How can I, an all capable being, right, not have something that I truly want? It's impossible. And that is within the nature of all sentient human beings in this world that we are all capable, all powerful, each and every one of us. But I'll tell you a secret, another secret. Some of us are just a tiny bit more well positioned. So the price for me to achieve great wealth and the price for you to achieve great wealth are very different. It could be worth it for you, but it probably isn't worth it for me. The price of you achieving firsthand, not through me, information about these secret laws, they're most likely not worth it for you. They're worth it for me because I'm predisposed. And now we're talking about predispositions, and we can also talk about physiognomy and face reading, and how those things interconnect. What are you predisposed for? Do you want to know? Trick question. If you wanted to know, you would already know it. So now follow that logic. Ask yourself, why don't I want to fully know what I am predisposed for? Am I afraid of what I might find out or not find out? You see, when you ask the right questions, you realize that you don't even need the answer, that you've known the answer all along. So it's not that the answer is this floating key that exists somewhere in a state of limbo that you must retrieve, but you've had the key all along. All you had to do is ask the question the right way. And I'll tell you another secret. You're going to owe me after this one, though. Tell you another secret. What is a spell? You know what the biggest secret is about spells? The biggest secret about spells is that spells are not commands. Spells are not incantations. Spells are questions. The correctly asked question makes the answer appear. The answer lives within the question. That's why the magician asks, can I make this rabbit disappear? Can this rabbit fit into the hat? And the answer is given all on its own. Childish want. Childish want is the desire to desire. But a spiritual want is to actually desire. That's why we say children never lie. A child is unable to lie, right? When I was younger, um, a few of my friends and we had a common sort of like mutual friend, um, who we thought was a terrible liar as a kid, right? We would say, well, you know what? Or let's say one of my friends would say, well, my father bought me this amazing bicycle or skateboard or whatever. It's so cool. No, 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 no. And that other friend of ours would always say, "Oh, wow, that's great, but you know, like my father actually bought me this and this and this. He's gonna buy me three bicycles and six skateboards, and they're from this, you know, super amazing, custom made, whatever, whatever." We all knew it was bullshit. He knew it was bullshit. And then once, um, we complained about it to our superiors, to our elders, right? And we said, he's a liar. We called the kid, right? He's a liar. He keeps telling things that are not true. And what one of the people told us, mm, they told us in a wizened sort of like way, um, that don't call your friend a liar. Your friend's not a liar. Children can't lie. You're kids. Your friend isn't lying. What he's doing is he's just telling you what he wishes to be true. He's just telling you what he wishes to be real. He's just telling you in a childish want, in an infantile sense. He's telling you that he wishes his father would give him gifts. He wishes his father would buy him nice and cool things, right? He wishes for that to be true. And then we all cried, right? Because the pain of our friend became very apparent to us. And that never really changes. It doesn't matter if you're a child or not. Most adults, most of us adults, we're children in adult bodies, right? That's what we are. We never really grow out of these things, right? So that's a moment to really understand, like children, adults, the inner child, it doesn't care. So in a childish, infantile way, you know, you desire these things to be different. You want a magical outcome, and it's a fantastical outcome. But it's not a true want. It's not a true desire. Know what I'm saying? A true desire is wanting both the result of your desires and your ambitions, but also the work, the inner work that comes along with it. The child cannot embrace this inner work because the child is unable to. The child is largely incompetent. So, in an infantile sense, within the mind of the child, the only way it can be achieved is through some sort of magical intervention. And we can talk about the potency of that belief later on, but um, in this sense, very much like our friend, right? Um, Somewhere behind those lies that we tell ourselves and to others is a very damaged, um, a very grieving, um, a very personal, um, and sad part of us that lives there, right? Um, and you think it's not born out of pain or lack or deficit, but it is. It is born out of pain, and just because you've become accustomed to that pain, it doesn't mean that the pain doesn't exist, that it's not there, right? So before you can treat yourself like a responsible adult, first you have to heal your inner child. You have to treat yourself like a child. So you really have to ask yourself, like, why am I telling myself these lies, if any, right? Like, well, perhaps because I desire them to be true. I desire them to be real. So, like, if I'm telling myself the lie that, like I'm really overweight, but I really want to lose the weight, and I just don't know like how to begin, but I really want it so bad. There's healing there that needs to be accomplished. That there's healing there that needs to be done because you want it from a fantastical outcome. But if you actually want it, you now have the competence and the know-how and the intellectual fundament and the material resources to actually make it happen. So you have to become the person who you have to become the fantastical, you have to become the divine intervention through which the mechanism of the fantastical story it can the wheel of the story might turn. You have to become the solution. You have to become the magic trick. You have to become the puppet master. You have to become the person behind the scenes. What is the greatest gift you can give to your children? You can become their Santa Claus, right? Like you can become the magical in their lives, the unexplainable. Um, you can become the solution that they don't, they are not equipped to have from their vantage point, from where they currently are. You become that, and through embodying that force, you actually dive into real magic, to the sorcery of the real. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to believe in the magic. You know it's all a trick. But the child does. The inner child within you requires it. And if the child believes it, the potency of that belief, the potency and purity and innocence of that force, nothing can stand in its way. If you can be the wand or the magic staff through which the spell is weaved or woven, all the child has to do is shake the wand, right? Like, you know, and that is where the magic lies. That is how, at its utmost higher form, the fantastical and the miraculous functions. It is achieved through these two forces interplaying, right, with one another. That's how it's achieved. You need the naivety and the gullible heart of the child, and you need the competence and the inner will and the drive of the conscientious adult. You need both. But without the inner child, the adult is lost. He is a materialist scumbag. He doesn't believe in anything, any sort of magic. He holds no hope. He's a pragmatist, and a bad one at that. And the child without the adult is a dreamer. He's disillusioned, right? He's lost in his own inability to make the magic happen. So what the child can do is the child can play. He can play make believe. But what the adult mind can do is um, play along and provide the foundation through which this game can make sense. So that there's some sort of end point to it, some sort of end goal, some sort of sensible lesson that can come out of it, right? So if you want to find your way, first you have to find yourself. And if you want to find yourself, then you really need to dig deep into who are you, like who you are. And what tells you who you are is what are your desires, what are your ambitions, what does your intuition trigger on, and what does your conscience trigger on. When do those forces activate for you? That will allow you to triangulate on, well, who the hell you even are and who the hell you think you are. And in the middle of those points lives your inner child. And no matter how much in deficit or how incompetent the inner child might seem, the divine flame, the spark of life, your highest truth lives within the miraculous desire of that inner child that brought you here in this world in the first place. The desire for a story or an adventure, um, a magical occurrence. Your whole existence is encompassed with the idea of the magical occurrence. That is what your existence is. It's the child dreaming itself into an unexplainable, inexplicable condition. It's a fantastical occurrence, and it cannot be explained from the mind of the child, even though it's born out of the mind of the child. It cannot be explained through the lens of childish adventure. It needs to be made sense of. It needs to be grounded in logic and numbers and rationale, and practicality and pragmatism. And what we call the emerging mind, the wandering mind, the you or the ego you or your identity or my identity. That's what it's trying to do. It's trying to make sense of the dream of the child. It's trying to ground the miracle of everything that's going on around us at all times. But yeah, enough of it. Like we already basically like talked about what we needed to talk about. Can't find your way? Figure out why you don't want it. Can't get a better job? You don't really want it. Figure out why. Can't get that girl to love you back? Figure out why. You don't really want to. Like it's so simple, right? If you see yourself as all capable, right? Capable of doing it all, which you are. We've already established that. You are capable of everything. But you're not capable of wanting everything. And there's great wisdom behind why, but not a lot of people explore that wisdom. But you can. So think on that, my friends. It's a little bit of a mind fuck too. I realize. But by changing your perspective, you can find new compartments of yourself that maybe you didn't even know existed until now. And once you understand yourself better, and once you understand what you really want, what you're really afraid of, what you actually don't want to happen, so on and so forth, it becomes easy to embrace your authentic self and to become more you and to come to terms with happiness and acceptance of, you know, who and what you are and who and what you wish to be. And only then, only with that fundament in the future, we might even dare to wish, right? And dare to desire and dare to want. Then you can dream. Then you can desire. Once you've understood who and what you really are, then you can want something and actually want something, and nothing will get in your way of achieving it. In mine either, right? And all you have to do is just admit to yourself, not to others, to yourself, that we're all full of shit. That's really all you have to do. If you can allow yourself, if you can confess that to yourself, that in some cases you're absolutely full of shit, then by all means you'd be doing God's work. So there you go. I need some coffee now, so we'll talk later, you guys. But thanks for tuning in. We learned something from it. Hope I learned something from it. We'll talk later. Have a blessed day.